The night was silent. The desert winds moved softly over the hills of Canaan. Most people slept peacefully, unaware that a hidden story was about to unfold. A story that would carry pain and courage, heartbreak and justice. A story that would one day shape the very line of the Messiah. It was a story buried deep inside the lives of two people who never imagined that God was weaving something greater than both of them. This is the untold story of Judah and Tamar, a story that begins with shadows but ends with unexpected light. Judah walked alone many nights like this, lost in thoughts he never shared. He was no longer just one of Jacob's sons. He was a man carrying guilt, secrets, and a heavy heart. Every time he looked into the dark sky, he remembered the cry of his younger brother Joseph, begging them not to sell him. Judah had been part of that betrayal. He had watched the caravan take Joseph away. No matter how hard he tried to forget, the memory never left him. But life does not pause for sorrow. Time moved forward, and Judah moved away from his family. Perhaps he wanted distance. Perhaps he wanted silence. Perhaps he wanted to escape the sound of Joseph's voice echoing inside him. Whatever the reason, he settled in a region where new faces and new responsibilities surrounded him. Among these people, he married a Canaanite woman. Together, they had 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. Judah hoped life would now be simple. He hoped this new chapter would wash away the pain of the old one. But sometimes the things we try to escape return in different forms, shaping our future in ways we do not expect. When Judah's oldest son grew up, Judah searched for a bride for him. He found a young woman named Tamar. She was gentle but strong, quiet yet observant. Her eyes carried a softness, but also a resilience that came from deep within. No one knew then how important her story would become. No one imagined that God was preparing her for something far greater than the world around her could understand. But Judah's firstborn, walked in wickedness. Something in his heart resisted God. His ways were not hidden even though he believed they were. God saw the pride, the cruelty, the disregard for what was right. And so, in a moment beyond human control, Er's life ended. Tamar became a widow at a young age, and her world crumbled around her. In those days, the tradition was clear. If a man died childless, his brother was to marry the widow, so the family line could continue. Judah told his second son, Onan, to fulfill this duty. But Onan had no intention of giving Tamar a child. He wanted the benefits of the relationship, but not the responsibility. He acted selfishly, repeatedly choosing pleasure without purpose. God saw this too, and Onan's life ended as well. Tamar was now twice widowed. Her pain was heavy, but Judah's fear was even heavier. He looked at Tamar and wondered if she was cursed. He told her to return to her father's home and wait until his youngest son, Shelah, grew old enough to marry her. But deep inside, Judah had no intention of giving Shelah to her. Fear clouded his judgment. He blamed Tamar for what he did not understand. And so Tamar was left waiting, not for months, but for years, holding on to a promise Judah never planned to keep. She lived in silence, but her silence was not weakness. She watched. She listened. She understood more than anyone thought. And slowly she realized that Judah would never allow her place in the family to be fulfilled. She would remain forgotten, cut off, erased from her own destiny. Yet God was not finished with her story. He was preparing a turning point, a moment where courage would rise from pain and justice would flow through a path no one expected. The world around her might have ignored her value, but heaven had not. Tamar was being shaped for a purpose that would one day change the lineage of kings. And on one quiet day, news reached Tamar that changed everything. Judah's wife had died. Time had passed. His household routine was shifting again. He planned to travel to shear his sheep, a dangerous time for a lonely man carrying unresolved guilt. Tamar listened carefully. Something inside her stirred. A plan began to take shape, not out of rebellion, but out of survival and a deep sense of righteousness. Her heart pounded, her breath trembled, but her mind was steady. If Judah would not give her justice, she would stand for it herself, not through violence, not through hatred, but through a bold act that would reveal truth in a way no one could ignore. This was the beginning of a moment that would shock her world, shake Judah to his core, and later echo through the generations until it reached Bethlehem. The story was no longer just about pain. It was preparing for revelation, and Tamar was ready to take the first step. The road that stretched before Judah was long and dusty. The season of sheep shearing had arrived, a time when men gathered, worked, laughed, and tried to forget the worries of their homes. Judah walked with his friend Hira, trying to let the noise of the world drown the noise inside his heart. But his heart was never silent. It carried guilt like a shadow that refused to leave him. Tamar heard from the villagers that Judah was going to Timnah for the shearing. She heard their whispers, the casual words that meant nothing to them but everything to her. Judah's youngest son Shelah was now grown, yet no message had ever come for her. No promise had been fulfilled. She remained alone in her father's house, still wearing the clothes of a widow, still waiting for justice that never arrived. And in that moment, something awakened inside her. Not anger, not revenge, but clarity. She saw her future stretching before her like an empty road. If she stayed silent, she would be forgotten forever. If she accepted Judah's broken promise, she would fade into a story no one remembered. But if she acted with courage, real, quiet, steady courage, she could reclaim her place, not by dishonor, but by truth. She removed her widow's clothes carefully with trembling hands. Each fold felt like letting go of years of sorrow. She covered her face with a veil, not to hide in shame, but to walk unseen for a moment until justice could be spoken. She wrapped herself in a simple garment, the kind worn by women who sat near the roads during festival days. She did not dress for seduction, she dressed for strategy. She was stepping into a moment that would change her story completely. The sun was lowering in the sky when she reached the entrance of Enaim. It was a place of crossroads where travelers passed, where choices were made, where destinies shifted without warning. Tamar sat quietly, her heart beating fast, but her spirit steady as stone. She did not know exactly how this would unfold. She only knew that truth must one day confront Judah, and God would guide the path to that moment. Judah approached the area, unaware that his life was about to collide with his own mistakes. He saw the veiled woman sitting by the road. Her face was hidden, her identity unclear. Judah's grief and loneliness clouded his understanding. He saw only what he wanted to see, a woman whose presence offered temporary comfort. He did not know she was the very woman he had wronged. He stopped. Words formed in his throat but hesitated. Tamar remained still, listening, watching, waiting for him to speak first. "Let me come to you," Judah said quietly, not realizing who he was speaking to. Tamar's breath caught, but she stayed calm. She asked a simple question. "What will you give me?" Judah, unthinking and unguarded, promised a young goat from his flock. But Tamar knew he would need to give something now, something undeniable, something that would one day reveal the truth. So she asked for a pledge, something personal, something no one else could claim. "Your seal, your cord, and your staff." Judah hesitated. These were not small items. They were symbols of his identity, his authority, his name. But in his loneliness and lack of discernment, he gave them away without thinking twice. Tamar accepted them quietly, not out of manipulation, not out of wickedness, but because she understood something that Judah had forgotten. Truth always reveals itself in time. What happened next was not a moment of passion, but a moment of destiny, a moment God would later use for greater purposes. And then, just as quietly as she had come, Tamar left. She returned home, removed the veil, and put on her widow's clothes again. No one knew what had happened. No one suspected the truth. Judah sent the young goat later through his friend Hira, hoping to retrieve his seal, cord, and staff. But the woman was gone. No one in the village knew whom he was talking about. Judah felt uneasy, but he let the matter go to avoid embarrassment. Tamar waited in silence once again, but this time something was different. There was life within her, a promise taking shape, a future forming gently in her womb. She carried not just hope, but justice. Justice that would soon speak louder than any accusation. Her courage had begun a chain of events Judah could not escape. And soon the world around them would learn that truth hidden does not stay hidden forever. It rises in its own time, in its own way, with a strength no human fear can stop. The turning point was coming, a storm of accusation, a moment of public shame, a revelation that would break open Judah's heart, and God's plan would shine through it all. 3 months passed, the seasons shifted slowly, and the air around Judah's household changed with them. Tamar remained in her father's home, quiet, disciplined, patient like the earth before the rain. She did not speak much, but her silence carried a new strength. Something in her heart had settled. She no longer felt forgotten. She no longer felt erased. She could feel life growing inside her, and with every passing day she realized that God had not abandoned her. He had seen her pain, her waiting, her courage, and now, through unexpected paths, he was shaping justice. But the world around her still judged quickly, still misunderstood easily. And soon the whispers began to spread through the village. Someone had seen changes in Tamar. Someone had noticed the signs of her pregnancy. Rumors moved like wind, fast, confusing, harsh. They reached the ears of those who spoke without thinking, and eventually they reached Judah. "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has acted immorally," they told him. "She is pregnant." The words struck him like a blow. Judah felt anger rise, not because he cared for righteousness, but because he was afraid of disgrace. He had promised Shelah and failed. He had left Tamar waiting for a future he never meant to give. But instead of looking at his own actions, he turned his frustration outward. Anger was easier than honesty. Punishment was easier than truth. "Bring her out," he said sharply. "Let her be judged." His voice carried authority, but his heart carried ignorance. He did not know that the very woman he accused held the symbols of his identity. He did not know that truth was walking toward him with quiet, steady steps, wrapped in the courage of a woman no one had valued. Men went to Tamar's house. They did not speak kindly. They did not show mercy. They only repeated Judah's words as if they were final. But Tamar did not tremble. She did not cry. She held something stronger than fear in her hands. She held the proof of truth. As they brought her out, the crowd gathered. People love stories of scandal more than stories of righteousness. But Tamar walked with calm steps. Her veil did not cover her face this time. She was not hiding. She was not uncertain. Her eyes were steady. Her heart was ready. Judah stood before her, ready to judge her without looking at himself. He waited for her defense, expecting excuses or begging or fear. But Tamar offered none of those. She simply reached into her garment and held out 3 objects that shone like fire against the dust: a seal, a cord, a staff. The crowd fell silent. Judah's breath caught, his face changed, his heart stumbled, and Tamar spoke gently, without anger, without hatred, without bitterness. "The man who owns these. He is the father." Her words moved through the air like a quiet thunder. They did not shout, yet they struck with truth that could not be denied. Judah looked at the items again. His seal, his cord, his staff, his identity revealed by the very woman he had wronged. The weight of reality fell on him, his injustice, his broken promise, his wrongful anger, his fear, his hypocrisy. All stood exposed before him, not by force, but by truth. Judah felt something break inside him, something that needed to break. His pride fell, his arrogance fell, his blindness fell. And in that moment of brokenness, his heart finally understood what righteousness looked like. "She is more righteous than I," he said softly, almost trembling. The crowd watched in surprise. Judah was no longer a man judging a woman. He was a man discovering his own fault. He was a man learning humility for the first time. Tamar stood there, not victorious in pride, but steady in dignity. She had not fought to destroy Judah. She had acted to claim justice, and justice had spoken for her. Judah did not touch her again, not out of shame, but out of respect. He honored the truth she revealed. And inside Tamar, life continued to grow. Life that would one day touch generations far beyond their village. For God was not weaving a small story. He was preparing a lineage, a royal line, a path that would one day lead to King David, and through David to the Messiah himself. Tamar was now part of a divine plan larger than any human eye could see, and her courage had opened the door. Time passed slowly after the day when Judah admitted the truth. The village whispered for a while, but whispers fade when truth stands firm. Tamar was no longer hidden in shadows. She was no longer the forgotten widow waiting in silence. She had stepped into her destiny with courage, and heaven had honored her strength. Her life, once filled with tears and unanswered questions, now carried a divine purpose she had not imagined. Tamar felt the movement of life growing within her every day. Sometimes she placed her hand gently on her stomach and closed her eyes. She remembered all the years she had waited, all the nights she had cried, all the times she wondered if God was listening. And Judah, meanwhile, was changing. The man who once acted out of fear and pride was slowly becoming a man who reflected humility and responsibility. He no longer avoided the truth. He no longer hid behind anger or excuses. He walked with quieter steps now. His eyes held more understanding than before. He looked at Tamar with respect, not shame. He knew she had shown greater righteousness than he ever had. And in that realization, he discovered something he had long lost, the voice of his own conscience. Many nights Judah sat alone, thinking about his past. He remembered Joseph. He remembered the betrayal. He remembered how he had tried to run away from guilt by creating a new life far from his father's home. But guilt does not disappear with distance. It only waits. And now through Tamar, God had awakened his heart again. Judah understood that he needed to face what he had done, not bury it deeper. Tamar's courage had exposed more than his sin. It had revealed the kind of man he must become. Tamar's pregnancy became a quiet testimony in the household. No one mocked her now. No one whispered behind her back with cruelty. There was something sacred about the air around her, as though heaven itself guarded her steps. Even the servants spoke softly near her, sensing that her story was not ordinary. There was something prophetic in her presence, something that carried the weight of future generations. As the months passed, Judah checked on Tamar often, not out of obligation, but out of genuine concern. He never tried to control her life. He never tried to claim her strength as his own. He simply supported her, quietly and respectfully. Tamar saw this change, and though she remained calm and steady, her heart recognized the transformation. Judah was learning. Judah was growing. Judah was becoming the man God intended him to be. One evening, when the sky glowed with soft, amber light, Tamar sat outside her home and watched the sun set behind the hills. The warmth touched her face, and she felt peace settle inside her like a gentle blanket. She thought about her two husbands who had died, about the loneliness she had carried for so long, about the promise she had held in silence. She realized that her journey had been difficult, but not wasted. Every tear had watered a future she could not see at the time. Every sorrow had shaped her courage. Every disappointment had prepared her for this moment of divine purpose. She whispered into the wind, not speaking to the world, but to God. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for giving me strength. Thank you for writing my story when others tried to erase it. The night deepened, and Tamar rested inside her home. She knew the time of birth was drawing near. She felt the signs, the subtle changes, the gentle warnings of the body preparing for labor. Yet she felt no fear. She had walked through loss, betrayal, loneliness, and injustice. She had stood against shame and revealed truth with humility. If she could endure all of that, she knew she could endure the moment ahead. Judah, too, sensed something stirring in the household. He felt a strange mixture of expectation and nervousness. He did not know how this birth would unfold, but he knew it mattered. It mattered in ways beyond family lines. It mattered in the eyes of God. For destiny was almost ready to enter the world. A birth unlike others. A turning point for Judah. A divine mark on Tamar's legacy. a moment that would echo through centuries. Tamar breathed deeply as the first pains of labor began, not with terror, but with determination. She knew God was with her. She knew the children she carried would stand as a testimony, living proof that truth, courage, and faith can reshape even the darkest chapters of life. And so, with the world quiet around her and the heavens watching closely, Tamar stepped into the night of her greatest trial and her greatest victory. If this story touched your heart, then don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us bring more powerful Bible stories to life.